Henry Kissinger is, I think anybody who has met him or worked with him or heard him speak, is without question an intellectual genius. He is also a world-class strategic thinker. I think what impresses me the most about Kissinger, however, is his stamina. It is absolutely incredible. There is no one in the world, not in history, not now, not in the future, who can outwork or outlast Henry Kissinger in negotiation. That's why he's a great negotiator.
What's up, guys? Just wanted to give you context for what you're about to see. So I started this thing called the Forbidden Book Society about a month or two ago because I read like 10 books a month. A lot of smart people join right away just because I mentioned it a few times on my socials. And my good buddy Chris that I met in the Forbidden Book Society Patreon, he says to me when we're talking on the phone one day, he says, I think Anthony Blinken might be the new Henry Kissinger. And I'm like, dude, get out of here. What are you talking about? Look at Kissinger and look at Blinken. Blinken looks like a wet noodle, and Kissinger was like the epitome of stern toughness, hardcore. But he said, I'm going to do a deep dive in Anthony Blinken. I'm like, you know what? That's a great idea. And if you find some crazy stuff, we'll do a podcast about it. And I kid you not, I was blown away with what my buddy unveiled about Anthony Blinken. Like, in just this 2 hours alone, we found like 20 rabbit holes that we just scraped the tip of the iceberg for, and we're like, what's connected to what? Yeah, we gotta look farther into that. So I know smart people are gonna watch this. Guys, look into the stuff more and then help us in the Forbidden Book Society. Hit me up. If you got some fire to drop, I'll have you on the podcast. Like, I never thought in a million years that the topic of Anthony Blinken would connect to the Warburg family, the Pesar family, the Clintons. This thing gets wild. Tell me your favorite part in the comment section. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. And guys, join the Forbidden Book Society Telegram and Patreon. The links for both of them are below. Let's build this freaking community. And you're like, this guy Blinken, he's a weird fucking dude. I'm going to start looking into this guy. And I'm like, that sounds like a sick idea because he is a weird fucking guy. And he's like at the center of a lot of these things. So what you're saying to me last week was some really cool shit and just the tip of the iceberg. So can you give a quick rundown of that for everybody watching?
Oof, quick rundown. Well, I mean, just quick down the timeline. I mean, he will start in 71. So up to that point, he was attending a highly prestigious New York school, and then his parents divorced, and his mom met this man named Samuel Pisar, who's a character of himself. Like, that's a whole podcast on his own.
That's a huge name right there too. That's like a Rothschild level name, supposedly.
Oh, speaking of
Pisar.
Oh yeah, well, not of Pisar, but of another player in the game. We got to touch on the Warburgs.
Oh yes, is he connected to them?
I mean, I remember me mentioning Warburg Pincus.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my dude, our boy Paul Wahlberg. That's his family. That's them. It's the Warburgs. Yeah, it's.
So the guy who started the Federal Reserve, right?
You remember in the Federal Reserve conspiracy book?
Yeah.
That's in the Forbidden Book Society.
Yeah.
We'll be going over it at some point, but he was central in creating the Federal Reserve.
Right.
And he didn't start Warburg, the bank Warburg here in America, but it isn't his family, and just the family in general it's very Rothschild-esque. They follow the same playbook, and then of course along the lines, they married. But I'll say.
Well, he's a front man for them. I mean, so this dude who wrote this book called The Federal Reserve Conspiracy, it's one of the ones I'm using for the series I'm doing on the Rothschilds, which like this dude just has this crazy outline of like with a paper trail connecting Rothschilds to people like Warburg, people like what else? Like every founding member of the Federal Reserve, like all 8 people, like there's a direct connection to them. So like they like had this whole network of front people because of their name was so tarnished by that point as poison to the banking society of any country.
No, yeah, in the Rothschild book, I remember hearing, what was it, Kuhn Loeb?
Yep, there you go.
And that as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, hold on, I got to start paying attention here. And next thing you know, I got more info on the Warburg family than I do about Blinken. But let's see, back to Blinken though. So Samuel Pisar comes into the picture. Mm-hmm. And he moves to Paris, attends the École Jeanine Manuel International Private School, which is a selective school, very rich, but it's also selective. So, not just anyone can go. It was founded in '54 by by a French resistance fighter. But the best part about it is her mission statement was individuals aware of their presence in this world, engaged in its history, and ready to play a part in world affairs. And I looked at current attendees, and I
boy.
saw that Nicolas Sarkozy's son, the ex president of France.
Oh, really?
Well, the only reason he's interesting to me is because, well, one, that's ex president, and
Yeah.
that's where he's putting his son,
Yeah.
but he's the one that awarded Samuel Pisar the French Legion of Honor,
Oh, wow.
which is the highest award you can get in France. And then also, he's part of the. Have you ever heard of the? Where is it at? It's like the Bergrum Institute.
The Bergrum Institute. No.
It's. Oh no.
Let me see.
It's really interesting.
It sounds wild. So that school you're mentioning, is it kind of like the equivalent of a Yale for France?
Well, it's not secondary school. It's high school.
Oh, is it like a boarding school, like a K through 12, or just strictly high school?
It's tough when you go on their website. It's strictly French,
Oh,
but I know that's where he went for high school, so that I can only speak on that part.
gotcha.
But it's one of the first UNESCO associated schools, which that connection is just because Blinken's mother, Judith Frem, is a UNESCO special envoy for cultural diplomacy. And I love these organizations and like their sort of mission statements. They got to kind of tell you straight to your face what they're about. And it's a specialized agency of the United Nations with the aim of promoting world peace and security through international cooperation in education, arts, sciences, and culture. So just one agency of the UN. So
Yeah.
that right there, red flag. But and then also the Ecole Janine Manuel School. Well, okay, I found it, the Bergrum Institute. Yes. So this Nicolas Sarkozy, 23rd president of France, he's part of this Bergrum Institute, which also includes people like Reid Hoffman, Ariana Huffington, Jack Dorsey, Elon Musk. And it's got like 5 different subcommittees within it, but the one that this Nicolas Sarkozy is part of is called Members of the 21st Century Council, and it brings together former heads of state, global thinkers, and entrepreneurs from across cultural and political boundaries to address the problems arising from power shifts from Western-dominated globalization to a multipolar world.
Oh, God.
Devoted to global governance reform with the aim to build on a convergence of interests in order to create a community of interests.
Yep, that sounds like a grooming school.
Yeah, and the dude that created it is like super into the media side of things, which is a lot of these guys.
It's funny Reid Hoffman's on the list too. Like Reid Hoffman's even on that Marshall scholar thing. So he must be a weird dude. I know Musk said that he's probably worried about Trump releasing
the I always heard the name, but I couldn't put a face to it. Then as soon as I did, I instantly got those. Who's that Nickelodeon guy?
Oh shit!
That just got busted, and then I just got those vibes instantly.
Yep.
And then Natalie Portman, she put her son in the school.
Oh wow!
So she didn't go, but she put her son in, and that's not that crazy. But she's my girl, and I didn't know she was Israeli born.
Oh wow!
She's born in Jerusalem. Yeah, I didn't know that. And then apparently the Santo Domingo family attends this school, which they're considered one of the richest families in the Americas. So that's like you have like political entities, you have entertainment entities, and then you got just super rich business conglomerates. Yeah, and these are the type of people that go to this school.
Bergrum Institute.
Well, I was talking about the Janine Manuel
Oh,
School.
okay,
But the
gotcha.
Berggruen Institute, it's like a California thing. It's like located in California, and it's I don't know. It seemed like half their committee seemed more dedicated to LA and California, uh, about like the laws in the state and things like that. But the 21st Century Council, I mean, that's a global, a global think tank essentially.
Yeah.
That has the ex-president of France in it. I just thought that was funky,
Yeah. So how do you spell the name of that place? The Janine E-
Berg.
Are you saying Bergum or the other one?
Bergrun.
Oh no. So the how do you spell the name of the other one?
Oh, my bad.
There you go.
ECOLE.
ECL BC
ECOLE.
ECOLE.
And then Janine, like GEANNINE. Manuel.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's definitely a heavy hitter right there. Did Macron go to it?
It didn't pop up on the basic search.
Okay. All right.
But I
Sorry to
mean,
derail.
Macron was endorsed by this Zarkowski guy, so
Okay.
uh,
But yeah, keep going. I'm sorry to derail.
oh, you're all right, dude. That's like I'm
It's super interesting.
barely through it. And then let's see, 80 to 84, he comes back, goes to Harvard, becomes editor as the Harvard Crimson.
Wow. So was this freaking Michigan lady.
Yeah, well, I mean, and what's funny is I found this Politico article that, I mean, shit. I mean, anyone can go find this Politico article, and you could pretty much get a good picture of the man Anthony Blinken from his college years and
What's the name
his
of it?
1 year working at this place called a magazine called the New Republic in '85.
Okay.
Uh,
Name of the article. I'll share it on the screen.
let's see. It's The World According to Anthony Blinken, I think is what it's called. I thought it was
Boom.
it's pretty interesting. Let's see.
Here we go.
It just gives a good insight into, there it is. Because, well, one, it's interesting because in the very first paragraphs, you just out of nowhere, like this has anything. Well, I guess it could, but the beginning of the article explains how Blinken was approached by a CIA asset Contra rebel about trying to get because Blinken was such an ambitious journalist.
What?
He needed to convince Blinken to write Contra propaganda for him. And then I guess the article goes on to explain how Blinken in under 900 words basically describes how the guy, seemed like a good guy, but he's more down with the Sandinistas, and he's down for like the Sandinistas just being more liberal. But if you look into Nicholas, what's his name? His name is
Not the Sarkozy guy, right?
no, Jose Francis Cardinal, a Nicaraguan businessman.
Yeah.
And in 1980, what's that? Yeah, this guy.
Jose Francis Cardinal had helped oust the dictator and anti-CEO Somoza in a coup sponsored by the CIA 4 years earlier. Now he's fervently against the leftist Sandinista regime that had taken power, living in exile to work and build opposition movement. He wanted the U.S. to finance Contras like him to topple the Sandinista regime. And here he was making the case to an ambitious college reporter, and it was Anthony Blinken. What?
Well, and then you go on to find that they met in like in a motel room, like off like out in the middle of nowhere. Like it's just sketchy. It's just sketchy.
And like if you're gonna try to do a spin job on somebody, like that's the best you got. Because like we assume that they leave some stuff out and try to like craft the narrative in some creative way that makes it plausible. But like this is the best you got.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Well, and and it goes on, and
This is crazy.
uh, what I actually found most interesting about the whole entire article was actually the quotes, specific quotes from his peers that he served with at the Crimson and at the New Republic, and I thought the quotes about him were uh,
Hit
or
me with, like what?
their quotes, and then apparently his own quotes were very interesting.
Give me
Um,
some. I'll control F it if you remember the words from it.
let's see. Well, uh, regardless, well, just to set the stage, they
Mhm.
basically say that all his writings from 80 to 84 were just basically anything anti-Reagan. He was
Mm.
basically anti-Reagan, and then when he went and worked at the New Republic, a left magazine. I got a quick little. I'll just read
Yeah, hit
the
me.
paragraph real quick. It says his articles on global issues from 1985 were shorter and exuded the precociously expert tone of his Crimson commentary. In February, he wrote an uncontroversial report on the financial troubles of French daily Le Monde. In March, he decried Reagan's diplomatic coziness with South Korean President Chu Dong-hwan, hold on. And then he argued in April for increased cooperation among European countries in prosecuting Italian Red Brigade terrorists
Oh
who
wow.
had taken part in bombings and kidnappings as part of their military. Oh my goodness!
Aldo Moro, remember from the book?
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah. Remember
Oh,
he was the Italian
nice.
prime minister who was murdered by Kissinger?
I see.
Wow, this
Oh,
shit all freaking connects.
and yeah, and then it's like 2 months later, he reported on an anti-apartheid letter signed by 35 Republican officials. So basically, he was hating on every Republican who called out South Africa for its apartheid, and like
What
say
was
he
he, pro
called them,
apartheid?
he cited them for moral inconsistency.
Oh my god. Well,
Uh,
I mean, I guess I could see that argument because it's like funny to me when people are outraged about like oh so and so is dying, like there's kids and women dying in this specific country. And I'm like, yes, terrible, agreed, but there's probably a close to, if not more, children, women dying in this country, this country, this country. You're not talking about that one. You're just talking about the one that's in the media. Like, we've been talking about Palestine, Ukraine for the past 4 years, but like Africa's been a shit show for decades. South America's been a shit show for decades with the same type of atrocities happening, and people aren't even acknowledging it because it's not being spoken about in the media. But if you are looking for the information, you could find that the exact same thing's happening there with like gang wars and mafia and cartel activities. So that I guess that's a fair point for him to make to Republicans there because our whole population suffers from that contradiction.
and even more so now because of data overload.
Yes,
Uh,
but sorry, go ahead. I
and bad
digress.
algorithms.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, like Rogan's interview not showing up in the search engine and YouTube if you search it.
well, yeah, and that's what's so funny is I was trying to save the big bomb for the end. My
You got Nancy. You want to reveal it?
yeah, yeah. Well, because the only reason it was a big bomb is because when I found it, which was relevant at the time, a month and a half ago, it was like on page 13 or 14 of Google, and it had to have only been a couple days after it happened. So it's just like,
Respect you, first of all. You're probably like it's probably 0.1% of people in the world who go to page 13 of a Google search.
well, I mean, I was super fast scrolling, so
Yeah. No,
I
you,
wouldn't.
you agree though? I bet their backend analytics would say that like 0.1% of people go that far with the pages, even when they're
Yeah,
looking for something.
easy. Yeah, it'd be a crazy low number.
Mhm. But go
Uh,
on.
well, nothing too much. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that his peers had said.
Okay.
Uh, it's like so in the early when he was at Hartford Crimson, he had interviewed Kissinger personally for a thesis
Ooh.
paper, and his own classmate said. So, although Blinken identified as a liberal, he had institutional centrist streak that set him apart. Recalls that he had approached Henry Kissinger for an interview for his senior thesis about the Trans-Siberian Pipeline. The fact that he would seek an interview respectfully with Henry Kissinger was like the epitome of being a moderate in our generation. Most Harvard people of the early 80s wanted to meet Henry Kissinger so they could put him on trial for war crimes.
Wow.
But, and then in 87, that thesis ended up being the main thesis for a book he wrote called Ally versus Ally.
Oh, interesting. That's a weird perspective that Kissinger was openly hated by college kids. I didn't realize that he was like, I guess that makes sense because it makes sense that he was that well known at the time because of Vietnam and stuff like that.
Yeah. The anti-war sentiment still carried over till then, I guess, even though it's like 10 years later. But
Kissinger has like 10 books that are all like 30 hours each in Audible time, and I've had them in my Audible library for the longest time. I have to like just suck it up and tear through them at some point because I'm super interested to know like what the hell's in that shit.
yeah, and my whole reasoning for even wanting to go down this Blinken rabbit hole was just like I had this, I don't know anything about anything, but I just had this weird thought that he was just the next Kissinger, like that they were just like, this is our next Kissinger. But it's, when you look at both guys, it's just a difference in generations. When you learn about my boy Blinken, he's interesting. So like, here's something else one of his peers thought. Let's see. So tradition at the New Republic held that the reporter researchers would organize a dinner for the editors, and Bell remembers that Blinken, even just out of college, had a perfectly well-appointed apartment and agreed to the duty of hosting. And he talks about how the artwork hanging in his apartment happened to be of an artist who was friends with his father. And then he says in quotations, "It actually seems sort of unfair, I think, to a lot of us. But here was somebody who was incredibly talented, incredibly good looking, who came from incredible wealth, and was also just an incredibly nice guy." And so that's obviously this whole article was written in 2021 when he was appointed as Secretary of State. So obviously it's not going to be anything mean, but obviously you can kind of read between the lines there that he said it actually seems sort of, I think, to a lot of us, it seemed unfair to a lot of us, so obviously they talked amongst themselves at the time, and there was some sort of consensus they had about the guy. But I mean, even before then, other peers were saying how he had an insane work ethic, and he had so much material that it just made all their lives that much easier, that he was just basically doing all the work. And when you think about that, and then you think about how Jose Cardinal just decided to go to him, it's like, did he have a source the whole time? Did he have an extra source? But I mean, maybe, I doubt it. He's in college, and a lot of his pieces are all very opinionated. So I highly doubt it. But
up to this point in the story, what does your gut tell you? Because like what you were saying before, I'm a big believer in that, like where your intuition is kind of screaming something to you, like you get like a sense for something based on patterns that you're seeing. So like up to this point in the story, is your initial thought that, okay, maybe he was just a smart, talented guy that the CIA approached, like the way that they did with the Unabomber guy, like how they would go recruit smart people from college campuses and like either feed them material or use them for operations? Or do you think it's like because of his family and because of the schools he went to, that he was a trusted source because of that? So like basically asking, was it talent or status that put him in this position?
That was kind of why I brought up the difference in generations. I felt like it was more status. Because even somewhere in that political article, it talks about how someone thought, he was right for the job of Secretary of State because he had hosted world leaders at his dinner table, which there's no elaboration on that, but I'm assuming that's because of Samuel Pizarro, most likely. And so, and then at the same time, his father, Donald, he was co-founder of Warburg Pincus in 1966, which that's a little further in the timeline, but that's when the official language of the company switched from German to English.
Oh,
And
wow.
there's a whole thing behind that. I thought it was very interesting.
So his father and stepfather were both extremely powerful.
It seems that way, yes.
Okay.
Very. And yeah, his stepfather is so powerful that he only has 3 paragraphs on Wikipedia. If and then you go look up Lloyd Austin and you can scroll for 3 years.
That piece of shit. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up Pissar's Wikipedia page. Samuel.
For someone who received the French Legion of Honor, the Order of Merit of the Republic of Poland, and is a honorary officer of the Order of Australia, and was also a Nobel Peace Prize nominee, and he got nothing. They got nothing.
That is sus. Let's see.
Granted American citizenship through an act of Congress.
What?
Yeah, I get to skip the whole line.
Yeah.
The whole line. Oh, yeah, and his daughter. Well, hold on. We're not there in the timeline yet.
Okay.
Longtime lawyer of Robert Maxwell. That probably means a lot to.
Whoa. Robert Maxwell connection.
Apparently, they were boys, homeboys.
Oh shit. So Pissar is boys with Maxwell.
Yeah, he was his lawyer.
Wow.
So obviously his confidant, at the very least.
Yeah.
Right. And then Pissar had considered himself close friends with Kennedy, and they had met when they attended Harvard together.
JFK?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he ended up working for him in the White House after he did 10 years being a lawyer and working for the UN for some reason. I found it interesting, probably nothing to do with nothing, but the thing that makes maybe someone else can find. I haven't even dug that hard, but from 88 to 94, you really don't get anything on Blinken. It just practiced law in New York and Paris, and
From
then
80 to 94.
From 88 to 94, and the only things I got in that timeline is that in 88 he'd worked with his father to raise funds for Michael Dukakis when he was trying to be president, and then in that same Politico article, they said that in 91 he submitted 2 random columns. One was titled "Womb for Debate." He was I guess trying to argue abortion in Europe, but last thing I'll say about the that Politico article, there was this chick who had apparently been two things about this article. One, okay, so Michael Abramowitz.
I've heard that name, Abramovich.
Yeah,
I know that name. Why do I know
served as the Crimson's president in 84 and now heads the nonprofit Freedom House. You ever heard of Freedom House?
I have before.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it before until now, and it's some nonprofit based out of DC and political advocacy surrounding issues of democracy, political freedom, and human rights. What's funny, you go to their webpage or Wikipedia page, and they even got like a world map that tells you what's free, what's not free, and what's semi-free
cool.
Around the globe. But
what is it
I think this one sentence probably gives them away. Freedom House supported the Marshall Plan, establishment of NATO, and Johnson's Vietnam War policies.
Okay, globalist.
Supported civil rights, but not if you were anti-war. Dead serious. And then
that?
Yeah, it says that. It says like staunch supporters of civil rights, but not anti-war sentiment in civil rights movements.
Is this the right one?
Well, no, I just saw it randomly on the wiki page, but I'm sure that Matt probably is telling you the free,
you're right.
What's not free and what's semi-free.
Wow, that's fascinating.
I know, because how can you measure that?
But, right. Yeah, who's the final judge to say if something's free or not?
Yeah, what I actually thought was most funny too was I'm looking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, guess what?
What?
Guess what, dude?
What?
Guess who was also a past member, board of director of the Freedom House.
Tell me, was it Blinken? Would be too easy, right?
Yeah, Blinken's too easy. That's too easy. I'll give you hints. I'll give you. There's other neat ones like Donald Rumsfeld and Paul Wolfowitz and Steve Forbes,
Cheney?
but no. All right, so I'll give you a hint. It's very recent to one of the videos you posted about an MSNBC host.
Oh,
Oh wait, no, not
Zygmunt Brzezinski.
Yeah, her father.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's a sick dude right there.
Yeah, it's a big new. I don't know how to pronounce. Yeah.
You just have to rush through it. That confident.
Yeah, my Polish ancestors want to slap me, but
for what, not liking him, or for not pronouncing?
Yeah. It's. I just saw that today when I was like going over some stuff, and I was like, oh wow, I didn't see this guy's quote before, because that dude Abramowitz, he let's see, where he was with Blinken at both Harvard and at this newspaper, and he said Blinken is a voice of moderation, and he said obviously things change over 35 years, but that sense of moderation to me still defines him. So I don't know.
He's moderate.
The Freedom House part is just pot. I was like, what's the Freedom House? Like, of course, it's another institution that's just soaking up money, because let's see,
501c3.
According to their 2022 financial statement, almost 100 million in total revenue, 94 million in total revenue.
Wow, it's some dough right there. And tax free.
Yeah, like the Scientologists.
Yeah, well, the more I go down these rabbit holes, the more and more power I see that these both NGOs and nonprofits have. Like, they're pretty high up there in the pecking order.
Well, they seem to be the true drivers, like the ones who actually get shit done, especially when it comes to the border, like anything to do with the border. And like when you talk about the road from literally like Colombia straight all the way to the top, there's a literal highway that's been installed, camps along the way.
Highway?
Huh?
Are you talking about the Panamanian Highway?
Well,
the one that goes.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I remember there's a couple good reporters out there who've really shined a light on all this, and just how between America and China, there's like they with the with allocating transportation and shelter and supplies, like it's an operation at the very least. I mean, I can only tell you what I see with my eyes, but it's just at the very least it's an operation, and it's head by these NGOs, and then the people who try and follow like the weird child situations, and once they get across the border, there's these old sort of shopping centers that get turned into security perimeters, holding centers, and it's just nothing. It's just NGO it's just nonstop contractors and NGOs. And
what it kind of reminds me of? So how in war it's like to the point where 50% of the people are on the ground are private contractors. Like even when we were in Afghanistan and Iraq, a lot of the people on the ground were contractors, not like actual soldiers that are government represented.
Yeah. Defense
Blackwaters and stuff like that's. Like
that's what I was trying to think of. Yeah.
Yep. So it seems like the same situation when like policy making and whatever you want to call it, because the NGOs do stuff that would be undefensible for the government institutions to do. So it's like a way for the government to do what it wants to do without being the government. Like
literally
without being held accountable like a government. Because the NGOs, like they're the ones who kind of push the policy to the legislators.
Yeah, and they're all based around DC as well, so they're just next door. They just walk in when it's time to pass a bill and tell everyone. Well, not everyone. There's other organizations that tell everyone how to vote, but
You know what was interesting to me that you said a while ago was when what was it called? The you said Blinken went to the Chatham House right before something. Was it right before Ukraine, or because the Chatham House? We know what the Chatham House is. I don't.
Well, exactly. That was going to be like I was going to try and say
Oh,
that.
sorry. Don't let me spoil it.
No, it's already out there. The cat's out of the bag.
Oh shit.
Well, the thing is there's not much to tell. There's really not much to tell. Like, I pretty much have actively avoided trying to go over any actual policy, like anything he's actually done. There it is. And in September 9th, his like logs says that he was just going to the United Kingdom to meet with Keir Starmer and the Foreign Secretary David Lammy and open the U.S. UK strategic dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And then on September 11th, traveled with that same British Secretary David Lammy to Kiev to meet Zelensky. So
On what day?
the 11th. So this was September, this past September. And
Okay.
then on the 10th, so that's the 9th, and then the 11th he hits Kiev, but on the 10th was the Chatham House. And then
Wow.
on that web page you were just on, it tells you that he was there to discuss where it is. It's on there to discuss how to deal with Ukraine militarily, economically,
He went
just
to
the
go see
future,
Daddy.
the future plans for Ukraine. And the next thing you know, him and the British Foreign Secretary go and tell Zelensky what the plan is from the Chatham House. You know,
Okay, here it is.
there it is. That's the one I'm referencing.
So for everybody out there who doesn't know what the Chatham House is, like this is one of those things that I almost feel a little bit like uneasy talking about in such a public forum, because the Chatham House is Blinken's daddy.
That's bad timing.
Right? I mean, so the way that a certain book that you could find pinned in the Forbidden Book Society Telegram, the Chatham House is something called the RIIA, which basically dictates U.S. foreign policy. So, like, they use the example of what was it, not the Afghanistan, the Iran war, or no, the Gulf War. Like, supposedly, according to this book, Bush had nothing to do with the will of wanting to get involved in that war. He got a phone call from Margaret Thatcher saying, "Hey, Mr. Bitch Boy Bush, you're gonna do X, Y, and Z because I'm fucking telling you to. So go right ahead and do that." And he went right ahead and did that because the Chatham House RIA told Thatcher, because she's their bitch, and then she calls Bush and tells him what to do because he's her bitch, apparently, allegedly, according to this book. So that's why, yeah. Would you concur with that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it just the way I see it, at least from September 9th to September 11th. He literally he said, "Hey guys, let's go to the Chatham House," and they went and they got their marching orders and they went and delivered them to. Blinken just became the glorified middleman.
God, that must be so annoying to like just think you made it, and then like in reality you're just listening to people who nobody knows about.
I mean, well, just I do like this jump to the present because I really haven't. I don't want to get into any sort of current administration arguments about what's went down and what hasn't went down. But what I can say just definitively is that Blinken was, for like one policy alone, had
Mhm.
everything to do with like Libya. And then ironically, during Trump's administration, I found like this random article where he literally admitted that Libya was a complete mistake. Like
Really?
he
With the whole
literally
Gaddafi thing?
admitted what?
With the Gaddafi thing?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because they
It
destabilized the
is
shit out
really,
of it.
it's super interesting. And then obviously there's more players in the Libya thing, but it's like that's one of his, like in the Obama administration, that was his one of his pets, one of his
Yeah.
policy pets that he worked on. But I really haven't focused on what he's done since actually being the Secretary of State. I just want to know like what made like why he was the guy for Secretary of State.
Right.
But he, they say Kissinger came up with this thing called shuttle diplomacy, which is like just show up and just just do it yourself. Just talk with the people yourself. Just show up in country and just do everything in person. So, and Kissinger called that shuttle diplomacy. So, and if you go to list of international trips made by Blinken on Wiki, it'll show. I like the map. And maps are great, but 89 countries, and it's funny, the state AI keeps it up to date. It goes October 25th is the most recent.
List of foreign trips made by Blinken, you said?
Yeah, list of international trips, and it's just 89 countries, and tells you how many to each one. And I just love looking at the map because it's like we've been in war, this proto war with for how long, and this man hasn't once went to Russia.
Yeah,
and
and
you
Biden hasn't even
remember,
spoken to him.
yeah, and you caveat with that, that Putin literally laughed like out loud, like, yeah, why would I talk to Biden?
Oh wow, this is cool. It shows how many times you went to each.
Yeah, that's a neat one to look at. Not the color, not by color code. I guess you could. But yeah, 16 to Israel, and then the next,
Really?
the next closest is 10 visits to Belgium, Egypt, and Germany, and then 987, all the way to 1. But the plenty
where do you
of
see where do you see that one?
It's like if you're gonna go to all these one visits, you could just analyze the one visit.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. Afghanistan, that's a pretty hostile place, especially after the shit they pulled in this. Oh man, that's its own animal. And then, I mean, Fiji,
Yeah,
Uzbekistan, Macedonia, like I
interesting.
just Republic of Congo, like just go where it matters, bro. You're the Secretary of State.
Yeah, it should be disproportionately to places like Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah, 7 to Ukraine. So he almost hits halfway to the top spot.
Is Russia anywhere on here?
No, look at the map. It's blank. It's gray.
That's fucking insane. That makes no sense. And then
exactly. I feel like
Palestine on here.
But that's what's funny too is like my whole. I guess I don't know enough about Kissinger to really talk about him, but I did see where I guess the dude changed his position on the Ukraine-Russia war like 3 times before he died. Yeah,
really?
he had like he changed his position on it, and it's like you're talking about someone who is. It doesn't sound like someone who would change their, especially that late in life, and to be so inconsistent, like right before they like. I don't know. He had an iron reputation, like a Bismarck type of reputation,
right?
Which
what was his opinion on it? Like, what do you switch back and forth between?
Oh, I wish I had I did not.
I'll pull it up.
I thought I'd be able to remember. If I remember correctly, I want to believe that when it first popped off, that he was all about like a diplomatic solution, that like it's totally not worth it type of thing. But I can't say I just know that he changed it multiple times. And speaking of Kissinger and Russia, though, Kissinger Associates, the geopolitical consulting firm founded and run by Henry Kissinger from 1982 until his death in 2023. One dude apparently was running this shit till he died. Like, that's pretty hardcore. But I just, a couple quick things. Kissinger Associates does not disclose its clients under U.S. lobbying laws. The firm once threatened to sue Congress to resist a subpoena for its client list and reportedly bars clients from acknowledging the relationship.
Wow.
And then, I mean, this is all basic like Wikipedia. I call it state AI, but The firm belongs to the U.S.-Russia Business Council, a trade group that includes ExxonMobil, J.P. Morgan Chase, and Pfizer. I thought this was interesting. U.S.-Russia Business Council is a Washington, D.C. based trade association that represents the interests of 300 member companies with operations in the Russian market. So the goal was to expand U.S.-Russian commercial interests.
And that stayed intact with this whole in the midst of this Ukraine-Russia thing?
That's the best part about it is apparently once the Ukraine-Russia war popped off, only 2 partners were like silently removed, and it was like just the 2 banks of Russia basically. Other than that, everybody is like it's I think it's like 200 members. So that's what's confusing. It says it represents the interests of 300 member companies, but there's only 200 members. I was very confused. But
what's that thing? What's the organization called?
U.S.-Russia Business Council, just based in D.C. That's crazy. Which is, we got to understand Kissinger Associates before we hit West Exec Advisors.
I know there's levels to this.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just interesting how they threatened to sue Congress once, and that was all because I think Bush wanted a certain guy to be his Secretary of State, and the guy worked for Kissinger Associates, and Congress wanted him to, give the client list up, I guess, or something, and he basically was like, nah, I'd rather ride and die with Kissinger, and I guess, yeah, it was apparently.
He was more afraid of Kissinger than the president.
I mean, yeah, I don't take my word for it, but the dude did have the shortest tenure in history in that position. But let's see. Strategic alliances with several firms, including APCO Worldwide, Blackstone Group.
Who are you talking about now?
But it's just Kissinger Associates. And just there's random stuff about it. There's a couple clients who've been exposed over the years. Nothing big. American Express, Chase Bank, Coca-Cola, Heinz, Merck, Rio Tinto, Volvo. But I only bring those up because obviously that just shows you the spectrum, which is obviously anyone and everyone across the board. Because it's funny because it's geopolitical consulting firm. What does that even mean? And apparently to them that means like it's advice to companies on how to deal with the countries they reside in, basically.
Right.
Or how to do business even outside, I guess, the country. But that was part of it. It was how to best do business in your own, I guess, within the boundaries of your own laws. You got to pay for really big money to get advice on how to find those loopholes, I guess.
Well, and I guess the relationship goes a long way too, because I mean, so think about how the Clintons got rich because they were like pretty much in debt after their Bill got out of office, and I started reading the Peter Schweitzer book about him, and he said that he basically monetized his relationship with foreign leaders and used his influence to get certain policies pushed through, like with natural resources and stuff in other countries. So he used his U.S. influence to influence like the policy for domestic countries. I forgot which country it was for, but he pretty much like pushed through this whole like natural gas deal that made the dictator of the country super rich, and then Clinton just has a bunch of money all of a sudden.
Wow.
So Kissinger probably had like a ton of influence internationally after all of his years of wheeling and dealing foreign policy deals. So maybe he had a lot to offer in terms of like what these countries are doing with setting up like international factories.
Yeah, it's like Pompey back in Rome. I mean, on all his campaigns, he's the one that set up all the foreign.
What's up?
It's like Pompey from Rome.
It's fascinating. I just thought of is so it's kind of like what Trump's talking about right now. So what is it that caused a lot of our businesses to start sending their in their businesses or their manufacturing to China or to places around the world. Globalization. And when globalization really popped off, like after we got off the gold standard, we got off the gold standard under Nixon when Kissinger was doing a lot of his stuff. And that's when like the World Trade Organization and everything started really to go crazy. And we really started to globalize. So that created a demand for somebody who knew his way around the international marketplace.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Like, not saying that that's the reason that they did everything they did, but it was definitely a nice setup for Kissinger. Like, he created this like globalized marketplace, and then like there's suddenly a need for companies to navigate their way around that. And then right after he gets out of office or government service, he sets up a consulting firm on how to navigate your way around the international markets.
I could totally see that. That's totally part of it, without a doubt. It's people totally underestimate the economics of things. And
Yeah.
it's later on when I talk about CSIS,
Oh, that's crazy.
they're huge into the economic strategies. But yeah, just you were looking at the staff, the prominent staff, and
Yeah.
then the old directors. That's interesting. You don't even have to really know these names. I see our boy John Brennan, ever since the strategic aerosol injectors. This dude's been popping up everywhere I look.
That is very interesting.
But then you look at directors. You don't even have to look at the names. Look at what they used to do. Former NATO Secretary General,
Huh.
Undersecretary of State for Economic Affairs, former Japanese Foreign Minister,
European
former U.S. Treasury Secretary. Oh, there's my boy
Right.
Eric Roll from the S&G Warburg and Company. That's the London branch, the SG Warburg and Company.
Oh, wow. Damn, those are some heavy hitters.
No, for sure, and it's obviously they just like a lot of these other cats. They only hire from the in club, and that's usually the issue with a lot of this for me on a personal level is I'm all about like meritocracy,
Right.
and it just shows how the people who are supposed to be in jobs of service, um, they're just all, they're all from the same club. It's not necessarily, you know,
Right.
for the right reasons.
Wow. I see a little George H.W. Bush mention here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we're still in that timeline. It's in 82 was when Kissinger started this company. Well,
Yep.
apparently he got money from like 5 different firms to start this. But one of them happened to be Warburg Pincus. And Warburg, that's where a little bit of the Blinken comes in, but man, the Warburg family, that's interesting, man. It's
Yeah.
real quick. It's you mind roll into that get that up
Oh,
on the
yeah.
screen?
Of course. You want me to say what you said?
Pull up the Warburg
Oh,
family,
yeah.
and then I'm just going to talk about the bank for a second while you bring them up. But
Of course.
so 1939, Eric Warburg of the Warburg Banking family founded the company under the name E.M. Warburg and Co. And it's started in the old Kunlo building. And so I thought that was interesting. But 1966 rolls around and they merged with Lionel Pincus. And that's when it became Warburg Pincus. And the original guy, Eric Warburg, he had retired to Germany and handed over control to Lionel. And that's when the official language switched over from German to English. And that was in 1966. And I just kind of thought, like, whoa, like
Hmm.
post World War II, you're talking about right there in the middle of New York, uh, like a pure German speaking investment firm. I just thought it was really interesting. Let's see. And then in present day, in June of 2024, Warburg Pincus was ranked ninth in the Private Equity International's PEI 300 ranking of the largest private equity firms in the world. So
Whoa.
ninth largest in the world. I just love too how why has it got to be 300? Why is it 300? Is this 300 of the biggest wannabes? Is that what the rankings for? But let's see. Just slowly browse over those guys, dude. It's so interesting. But before I leave my boy Eric and we go into his family,
Yeah.
let's see. Eric, he starts the bank in 1939. Okay, and then returned to Germany as an officer, a colonel in the American Air Force, and was influential in restoring German-Jewish relations and rebuilding Germany's economic ties after the Second World War through his international business associations. That's all you get on that page. And then Google AI gave me his service record.
Mm-hmm.
Holy, this dude was a I did you know Annie Jacobson? She was
Yeah.
on like. Did you read? I didn't read any of her books, so I
The
hope.
nuclear one?
Operation Paperclip.
Oh no, I didn't read that one, but I
But
know
you know
about
what the
yeah,
operation is, though, right?
of course.
Okay, yeah. So he served in the German army in 1918 before he came to America, I guess.
Wow.
But then, as an officer, he was an interrogation officer, North Africa, Europe, Germany, and he interrogated Erman Goring.
What?
Yeah, and then he was apparently in charge of helping German scientists and their families migrate to the United States after the war, which that sounds like Operation Paperclip.
Yeah.
Probably not. I mean, that's probably a stretch, but it's like German scientists. So I don't
Yeah, I wouldn't
know.
even call it a stretch.
And then he was awarded the Legion of Merit by the United States, the
Oh,
Order of the British Empire by Great Britain, and the Croix de Guerre by France. Oh yeah, and the current chairman of Warburg Pincus at the moment, Timothy Franz Geithner. Is that familiar?
what?
American
Geithner?
former central banker who served as the 75th Secretary of Treasury under President Obama. So
Yeah.
basically, the financial crisis guy.
Yeah.
President of the Federal Reserve Bank from New York, from 03 to 09, after serving in the Clinton administration.
He's the chairman of Warman Pincus right now?
Yeah.
That is fucking wild.
Yeah, and I figured, I thought maybe you would know him.
Yeah, he was like he was central casting in the movie about the great financial crisis. Like
Okay.
he was the guy who came up with the TARP plan for the 800 billion bailout.
Nice.
That's crazy. So like the fact that there's still a guy who's like, so the Federal Reserve, Warburg was one of the founding members of it. And then the guy who worked at the Federal Reserve in 2008 apparently has a relationship with the Warburg family right now. Like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? Like an inbred circle right here?
Oh, well, we're almost there. We're almost there.
Jeez, I feel like I need like a string chart. Those FBI string boards.
Well, so we'll head into the Warburg family a little bit. And I like this because I'm trying to figure out, like, are they teammates or rivals to the Rothschilds? I'm trying to
Warburg?
I'm trying to entertain both ideas.
Warburg, you're saying?
Yeah, the Warburgs.
Okay. Do you want my thoughts, or you want to? I'll hold back if you want to make your case first.
Well, no, I mean, I would actually. I'll already add my third, that they're just pawns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll add that as the third option for
Okay.
sure. It's just it's only the simple fact that I would argue that they could be potential rivals is only because of the simple fact that they're on Wikipedia. It says one of, but I found other sources that say the, like literally the. It says the Warburgs. Let's see, Venetian Jewish Del Banco family. the wealthiest Venetian in the early 16th century. And
Warburg?
apparently, varied accomplishments in biochemistry, botany, political activism, economics, investment banking, law, physics, classical music, art, history, pharmacology, physiology, finance, private equity, and philanthropy. Whew. But and then they also have the oldest existing investment bank in the world, M&M Warburg and Company. And supposedly the oldest known ancestor was Simon von Cassel. And it instantly made me think of Hesse Cassel, which, don't get me wrong,
Oh,
Hamburg isn't location wise, not in the same area, but
what are you on right now, by the way, so I could look it up? What do I type in to get it?
oh well, I mean all this. I can't remember where I had two different. It's just the regular wiki source, and I had another source.
It's just General Warburg family.
Well, I think I was going through quotes from this guy. Ron Chernow wrote a book on the Warburgs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
That
he
guy's a
did
beast.
he did Alexander Hamilton,
Yeah, I
and
love that
that's
guy. And he did
yeah, and I was
JP Morgan too.
yeah. So I kind of figured that was probably a lot of good information there, but it's interesting because I mean you could I mean I don't know enough about what they were doing. It's just interesting that the oldest existing investment bank in the world, and
Dude,
what's
you're
up?
right. Like I didn't realize Warburgs go back this far. Like this is making me question things because, like,
Well, when you think Venetian, you got to understand that at that time, trade, like if you're in control of the trade network, you're the richest in the world. I
yeah,
mean, it's, the Venetians, and then you could say that the Venetians were. You could say that they're the inheritors of maybe the Phoenicians, which everybody knows were a naval power, in
right,
mainstream history even. But
yeah.
um,
And the
yeah, it's
Venetians are like the Medici timeline and all that. Like so, like that's where the
uh,
real
absolutely.
old money might have been from is the Venetian people. So like they say that Venice is like the insurance capital of the world still, and like that places like AIG are a little piss hands compared to Venice insurance type of businesses, but they're just invisible because of how powerful they are. So when I see Venetian Jewish family, it's one of the wealthiest families in the early 16th century. Yeah, that puts you on a Rothschild level to me. But it's
It's got
weird.
to carry over to it. It's got to carry over to. They're not one of those families like the Biltmores who ruin it in the second generation.
Yeah.
Like you can obviously tell that they follow the same blueprint, dude. Like so, down the line, you got the ones that come to America, which are uh, is it Felix and Paul? Uh,
Mhm.
uh, there's like Felix Max and Max Felix, so it gets kind of confusing. There's like two lines in the family, and it gets really confusing. But so they come to Felix married Frida Schiff, who
I know that
daughter
name.
of huh.
I know that name. What's that name from?
I guess the Schiff family must have been like a big banking family in
Oh,
America.
Jacob Schiff. Jacob Schiff. Holy shit.
So,
That's
so, so
another.
like Felix, bro, Felix marries the daughter of Jacob Schiff, who is also the granddaughter of Solomon Loeb. And then Felix's first daughter married a Rothschild.
Oh
Okay.
my
So
god.
that's just Felix. That's one of the Warburgs that came to America. And then there's Paul, who married just straight the daughter of Solomon Loeb.
The,
I just,
all right, we're you remember that software I showed you, the one that like does all the string boards and stuff, like where you connect. I'm gonna make a board based off of that because like I see the picture, but like we need a graphic that people can look at to show how fucking crazy this is.
it's just so funny that these brothers, married two different chicks. One is a Schiff, one is a Loeb, but the Schiff is still related to the Loeb, even before she marries the Warburg.
That's
So
what I
like
mean. Like that, that needs like
Frida,
a visual representation to describe the level of craziness of that.
I know Frida Schiff is the daughter of Jacob Schiff, but also the granddaughter of Solomon Loeb somehow. So there must is somewhere in the maternal, like somehow I don't
So
know.
probably like they they learned from the Rothschilds as they started looking like mongoloids because they were like inbreeding so much. So like, all right, like we can't like keep fucking our sisters, so we
No,
have
no,
to like just
that one of those last chapters in the was it chapter 8 or 9?
where they
The
implemented the strict family policy of like you could only marry your siblings.
no, just that one Rothschild who's considered just fugly.
Oh yeah. The youngest brother, Jacob.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oof, man, I could only imagine.
that's like
He
the penguin.
the run to the litter got all those inbred
Yeah.
uh
And then now, like, imagine
coefficients.
decades of inbred. Like,
Uh, yeah,
yeah.
it's the same. It's the same blueprint. You know, that's what they
Mm-hmm.
do. They just marry other banking families, and then the next generation down marry themselves, and then it's just back over. It's just the bouncing back and forth. Um,
I get it. I mean, I guess it's like a great way to maintain wealth and secrecy and like just keep it in the family without keeping it in the family.
yeah, I mean it's hard not to be suspect of bloodlines in a sense. It's
Yeah.
hard not to be suspect.
Well, dude, now I'm wondering if like Geithner is connected to all these families somehow. Like to end up as the chairman of the New York Federal Reserve, pretty much the most powerful government banking position in the world. And
Well, I
then now
mean,
he's at the Warburg Bank.
I'm not 1,000% sure that Warburg Pincus stayed even in the Warburg, like part of the Warburg Empire, as you could say, post 1966. Just because this Eric guy hands the reins over, the language changes, name changes. I mean, the dude was coming in from a completely different bank, uh, Thalman Investment Bank, Ladenburg Thalman Investment Bank. I don't know. I'm not too sure
If they're still there.
yeah, I don't know how connected Warburg Pincus is still to
To the
the old
Warburg.
family. I guess the old money. You know what I mean? I wasn't sure if that was like a takeover or what. It just seemed funky.
Well, I feel like I'm gonna look into it, but I feel like they are because, like, how you were saying, you have the feeling that Blinken was like the next Kissinger. Like when you said the name Geithner, and he's at Warburg Pincus right now, that makes me feel like there's like a connection that goes way back between Geithner and the Warburg family.
See, and
Because
I only had a small note here, and I was like, hopefully he knows who this is. Like, this just doesn't look right. I just don't know. I just don't know enough about
no, that's
our
shocking.
'08 financial crisis. I just know that
Well,
Homeboy
there's a
sold out.
you should watch like they made a movie about it called Too Big to Fail. It's like an actual like movie with actors in it and stuff. It's overly simplified, but it gets the summary across of what happened, and it's pretty entertaining. But you'll see the role that Timothy Geithner played in that. Like they have him just like jogging like down the street like one day after the crisis. He's like, "Oh, I got it. We bailed him out." But hey, you fucking Warburg fuck.
Yeah,
So,
that's
what are the
Hollywood for
odds
you.
that the Warburgs were a founding member of the Federal Reserve, and then this
That's the
guy
best
who's
part
yeah,
because you yeah it didn't click the first time when we were on the phone, and then I went back and I was looking and I was like man this isn't this. I was like you see all this random stuff, and it's like even his brother at the time. Uh, let's see, one of the most prominent bankers of his time, Max Wahlberg, attended the Peace Paris Conference of 1919 at Versailles as part of the German delegation, and served on the board of the Reichsbank. So for the Weimar Republic from
oh
from
shit,
24 to 33, and it's just like, why is there a banker at the Paris Peace Conference 1999 at
wait a
Versailles?
minute.
In my mind, from a military perspective, you think generals, like you just don't think a banker is going to be, part of the German delegation. But I mean, this, it's a Warburg, and they were.
Wait a
pretty hot,
minute.
pretty up there, you know. And a couple other notables in the family. We got Otto Warburg, elected head of the World Zionist Organization in 1911.
At the this is the Warburg guy.
Yeah. These are just a couple of notable family members. Emil Warburg, associated with the Warburg element of electrochemistry, and apparently was friends with Albert Einstein. And then Otto Heinrich Warburg, Nobel Peace Prize in Medicine, 1931, physiologist, biochemist. And there's another weird one. You know, I just, you know, I feel like anyone could take this and run with it. You know, Abby Warburg apparently had this insane library that got turned into a institute called the Warburg Institute in London. It was originally established in Hamburg, Germany, but big German name. I don't want to even try. And then in 1934 moved to London, but Institute is a research institution associated with the study of cultural history and the roles of images in culture, cross-disciplinary and global. It is concerned with the histories of art and science and their relationship with superstition, magic, and popular beliefs. And so I just like to think that the Tavistock, you know, Institute probably, you know, for a piece of their their material they might borrow from here.
Yeah, dude, real quick. So the so this family's Jewish, right?
Yeah.
So,
it made a big deal about how not all of them made it out, I guess.
Yeah, the Holocaust survivors and stuff. But so interesting that you bring up that one of them was at the Paris Peace Conference in Germany and was a part of the Reich Bank during the Weimar Republic, because I never really dug into this, but a lot of people blame the Weimar Republic hyperinflation on some stuff with all that. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. So basically their Federal Reserve was hiking shit up like crazy.
Was maybe printing money like crazy to pay for the war reparations. And I mean, the way it's spun in mainstream is that because the war reparations were so hefty that like they had to print a bunch of money to pay those reparations. But it's quite interesting that that was one of the people at the, you know, bank that prints the money. Why was an outsider there? Like, I'm interested to know who all the members were of that bank that was printing money that caused hyperinflation, that ultimately caused the circumstances for crazy Hitler to come along and sell people on the narrative he's going to put an end to that shenanigans. Like, some uncomfortable pieces are starting to line up right now.
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's why. Well, it's just kind of like my, like for example, JFK. Like why the lone shooter doesn't work is because, to be honest with you, it takes more than one person to take someone that big out. You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like it's too big for one person a lot of times. You know, even though you can make an argument about July, with Trump. You can make it. There's people out there that like to make the argument. Obviously, I wouldn't entertain it. But
everybody acted how they should not act on that day. Same thing with JFK. Like everybody was out of place. Like the crowds were too close. There wasn't a bubble on the roof. The windows were left open at the depository. Like all kinds of things. You ever see the movie? I think it's just called JFK or something. Oliver Stone did it. No. There's this scene. I almost want to pull it up. Maybe I'll take this part out after, because this guy who's like plays like a spook in the thing, he outlines all the things that were wrong that day, and it's like super historically accurate. Let me see. Here, you could dig into what I interrupted you about while I'm looking this up.
Well, as far as the Warburgs go, I was probably gonna leave it there.
Dude, you're crushing it right now. Good shit.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though, is to be honest with you, I never really scratched more than the surface on a lot of this. You know, it's all right there from the state AI. You know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is they think we're so dumb that we won't notice how shameless they are. You know,
right.
with all this. like let's see. So yeah, I mean we're right in the timeline. We're right there where Lincoln finally enters government. So I guess before that, I'll just spin you up on uh, his family that since being American, basically. So the first American in his family is great grandfather Mayor Blinken, Meir, and then Blinken was with two eyes. Born in the Russian Empire, present day Ukraine, and according to Blinken, supposedly fled Russian pogroms to America in 1904. The man wrote apparently somewhat of 50 works, fiction, nonfiction. Most were considered satirical short stories, and some were featured in socialist/left Zionist leaning periodicals. This is the moment I learned that Zionism goes even before 1900. I had no idea. And then
Is it Theodore Herzl? Is that where you're going?
No,
I
wasn't going to go that deep, but I guess I'd only been it's like the early 30s, they were starting with the settlements. I kind of thought that's kind of when it popped up, but and the
I believe
it's the name of
so
what was the name of that it's escaping me at the moment. Just there was a declaration or something, the Balfour
Balfour.
Yeah, there it is. That's kind of in my mind that was like the timeline of when Zionism started, but then you learn even before then, well, obviously things like that don't happen in a vacuum, so of course it's before then. So
well, and you kind of get why it started to a degree, because I mean, like, so like Theodore Herzl started in like the 1890s, the Rothschild dynasty book on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you kind of get it from their perspective, like they're like the pogroms and shit are happening. But then I mean, like the question is like, are those things happening because of a religious view, or are they happening because of like certain people are the only ones in the world who are like viciously lending out high interest loans?
I find I went this far back because it's personal to me. I'm really only fourth generation American, and I like to see this as just a point of view thing in a sense, because according to my family ancestors, we were running from the Cossacks.
Oh wow!
And from the same area though, Ukraine, Poland, it's all from the same area.
Yeah.
That his family comes from. So it's funny how like, whose perspective is what, like, or it could be either or. Obviously, it could be both. Both could be right at the same time, obviously. But
right.
According to a lot of scholars, Mayor Blinken was considered the first Yiddish writer in America to write about sex, and he liked to write about the female perspective on sort of merit, like adultery and lust and things like that. It's very interesting because it's I don't know. There's a lot of funky things going on, especially when you learn about like what books were burned at like the Nazi book burning, and then then you think about like Rabbi Shmuley with like his daughter's sex toy business.
Yeah,
it's a different approach to viewing sex, I guess, because you think of Jews as like very reserved, and you just don't think of them as being so liberal in a sense,
Yeah, well, there's some patterns in the porn industry that like with the founders that I don't know, kind of highlight that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That it doesn't surprise me, but that's it's just interesting, I just always I guess I have like the hit. Well, and that's the beauty of it is people have to start understanding the actual difference between like Orthodox Judaism and Zionism. It's just Zionism is a political movement, not a religious covenant,
Yeah. Well, I saw a crazy little Twitter clip the other. Did I send it to you? The one where it said that the Schofield Bibles like rewritten by the Oxford Publishing House to like insert all the things about Israel in it, where like God will protect those who protect the state of Israel.
No, but I
Yeah.
love that because that's always kind of been my a lot of my argument for sort of the Bible is just it's way too tainted by man at this point. Like I bought the 1516 Geneva Bible because
Oh,
I wanted to know what Martin Luther was
that's
reading for
badass.
him to be like, yo guys, they ain't telling us the right shit. And he just, nails up the theses and, next
Yeah.
it's the 30 Years War. Uh,
That
so.
was a viral piece of content right there.
Well, I mean, it's, you got to think about those things,
How funny is it that like the printing press was like basically back then was like what Twitter is right now? Like back then they were trying to like
yes.
ban and destroy printing presses because that was like had the effect of what the internet has right now.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny to think about that version of that, and
Yeah.
how much slower that is compared to now, but also with the same impact.
Like the idea that you had to like write by hand to like make a second book of the book you wrote, you had to just like write everything again by hand before that.
Yeah, being a scribe would have sucked.
Oh God. Sorry, go ahead though.
Oh no,
Here we are.
it goes on and on.
I'm gonna
Those
print
are
some,
just, I mean, that's nothing crazy about his grandfather, but that's just the first person who came to America.
Yeah.
Maurice Blinken. I'm not from the Midwest. Okay, I'm from the South. Maurice Blinken. He's the grandfather. He founded the American Palestine Institute, intended to persuade America to back the creation of Israel.
What year was
So
that?
Zionist. And he's also responsible for changing Blinken to Blinken. So it used to be Blinkin, and that last I got changed to an E. Why beats me.
The aesthetic or something deep? That's interesting.
I mean, it's weird because it's like you getting. Like, you're already in America, so it's like it's interesting.
Sounds like an optics thing, but I bet there's something interesting.
It could have been someone else in the family. It could have been more of a like his brothers and siblings. Maybe they as a community. But I know that the great grandfather, so Maurice's father, he signed all his works, with the original spelling, and so they waited till after he died before they changed it. And then his father, Donald Mayer Blinken, and Mayer is spelled different as well. So it's like you got Mayer Blinken, and then you got Donald Mayer Blinken. And you got Mayer Rothschild. No, never mind. But so he, we know he co-founded Warburg Pincus in '66, and he served as a chairman of the board. Economics degree from Harvard. Served in the Army Air Corps in 1944, and he was part of the American Jewish Committee, which is apparently regarded as the dean of American Jewish organizations.
So, like the highest level of American Jewish institutions?
Is what it sounds like, yeah. And
wow.
he was like a big art collector, and sort of that was his in that, like he was into art and music. And then his brother Alan Blinken got an arts degree from Harvard. So so obviously that's why Blinken is so artsy, and he's in a band, and I will go back a little quick thing on Blinken, back to that political article. The very last quotation I thought was very neat was that this woman who had been with him for like 5 years has said she said that he said word for word, after turning in like an editorial or whatever. He turned to her and he said, "I'd be so thrilled to be able to write a film review." And then earlier, he had a coworker that said, he was very surprised that Blinken went to law school. He seemed very passionate for journalism, so, and then Blinken himself had said that, like, he had to make a sacrifice, and it's like, what are you sacrificing for, bro? Like, you just want to be an an artist, like, and that's my biggest thing about him being generationally different than Kissinger, because you brought it up, dude. Kissinger had to earn it.
Yeah.
That dude, he had to earn it, and I think he just comes from that, that sort of different generation that got drafted, and then Blinken sort of, like I said, he was hanging out with people who'd rather hang Kissinger than talk to him, but he obviously, preferred to talk to him. So very interesting. But so Blinken in '94 starts working for the Bill Clinton White House. So from '94 to '98, he's the chief foreign policy speechwriter in the National Security Council speechwriting directorate. So this is, speech writing topics cover a variety of subjects for various audiences, including but not limited to foreign trips, head of state visits, United Nations General Assembly addresses, State of the Unions, weekly radio addresses. And I've in the Clinton library, there's 900 sort of articles. And you literally get to see his handwritten notes, crossing out things and writing and editing and stuff, because he was like chief editor. And then from '99 to '01, he got promoted to be special assistant to Clinton and the senior director for the National Security Council for European and Canadian affairs. So '99 to '01 is sort of when he's like actually doing foreign policy, which, according to all his writings in the early '80s, that's all he cares about is foreign policy. That's like literally all he cares about is foreign policy. When it comes to, anything outside of his band, I guess. But oh yeah. So at this point in time, I forgot. So from '94 to '98, when he first gets into office, So what we learned, in '88, him and his father tried to get Dukakis to be president, I guess. So they were on the losing side. So obviously they weren't in the in club, unless of course we want to think that maybe they're all, until Trump, where basically didn't matter who won type thing. But
I feel a little bit that way. But
maybe not from that point, but definitely from Bush Kerry at the very least.
That didn't matter who won.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that did stick out to me before that. Like, he was on the Dukakis side of things, because he doesn't feel very anti-Bush, because Bush doesn't really feel very anti-Obama, and Obama doesn't feel very like anti-Biden, obviously.
No.
Like, there's nobody was freaking out that one or the other won in those other races.
No, absolutely not.
Proceed.
Oh, you're fine. I just thought it was interesting that at this time, his father and his uncle, boom, out of nowhere, are ambassadors for America. So from his father, Donald Blinken.
Under Bush or under Clinton?
What's that?
Under Bush
under Clinton.
Oh,
under Clinton. Okay, yeah, under Clinton. From 90. Well, I guess it'd be.
What year?
94 to 97.
Yeah, it's Clinton. Bush
Right.
was 88 to 92, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So he's ambassador to Hungary, and then his brother Alan, Anthony's uncle, was ambassador to Belgium for those same years. And in order to be an ambassador, you got to be approved by the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, which Blinken was a part of later on in the timeline.
Oh, really? How? You don't have to be a senator to be part of that?
Well, he's probably appointed staff director, Senate Foreign Relations Committee from '02 to '08.
Oh, gotcha.
So just like one of the highest dude of the peons under the senators. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's see. So from '01 to '02, he was a senior fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. All right. So what is the Center for Strategic and
That
International
was in that
Studies?
book, wasn't it? Go here. I'm gonna look that up while you go on.
Is it in that document?
I think it was in the
I
PDF.
always pull up that
Yeah,
Word
PDF.
document and like scroll through, see if that's why the Chatham House popped to me. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, the Chatham House. That's my nugget.
Let's see.
Let's see, Center for Strategic and International Studies, pro-war, pro-censorship, American think tank, incorporated into DC uh, in 1986. I bring that up because before that, it was started in Georgetown, and they ended their formal affiliation in 1987. It was like a controversy, but I only bring that up because later on in the timeline, Blinken helps co-found the Penn Biden Center, which is, a think tank that's part of Pennsylvania or the University of Pennsylvania, but it's located in DC. And
Hmm.
so that sounds like what the beginnings of Center for Strategic International Studies was like. It started out of Georgetown, and after a couple of years, they cut ties and they went and they got adopted by DC. And let's see.
Wow.
Since the early 90s, focus turned to international economics and issues concerning the North American Free Trade Agreement, World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, as well as global health and environmental, social,
Hyper
climate change
globalism.
bullshit. But
Super,
yeah,
super, super globalists.
no, well, I mean, and when you think about those silent weapons, quiet wars,
Yep.
that when you think about the economic framework around it, and it's like they're like, oh, yeah, the early '90s comes on, they're like, oh, you know what, we're gonna go hard on the economics, and it's funny because it's like if that's their game, and then why is it that 20 years later, 30 years later, they're lauded by John Brennan, our boy, for quality analysis and ideas for national security. So
Right.
apparently these guys are like, when it comes to the intel getting thrown down on the president's desk, these guys are apparently getting their 2 cents put in there.
Hmm.
Uh, and let's see. Oh yeah, Kissinger used to be a board of trustees of this place. That's obviously
Strategic studies.
yes. So he was a board of trustee. Yeah.
Probably got like 500 grand a year just to like show up at a meeting once every quarter.
Yeah, and then the current board of trustees definitely looks interesting.
Oh boy.
I tell you what, this is my favorite part though coming up because it's so
Oh,
random. I was like, I visited their page a couple different times, and I saw that they were touting this program, this project on nuclear issues, Pony for short. And
hmm.
I was like, shit, did I f up? Like, Brandon talk, nuclear energy is good, like so maybe this is something about nuclear energy. That's exactly where my mind went first.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, so and next thing you know, you dive into it, and it's an advanced public debate about the future role of nuclear technology will play on the world stage.
Whoa.
And there was a paper, like a big paper written by these two authors. And you open the paper, and it's literally just nothing about how it's basically a whole paper. It's basically where the strategic nukes came from. Like, you remember, you started hearing about the use of strategic nukes, like that's even
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Uh, these guys they write this whole paper basically arguing for the fact that we need more nukes, we need better nukes, we need more tactical nukes, we need more we just need more. Basically, that's what this whole like 9-page paper was all about.
What's the
And the
paper
best part
called?
about it is the authors. It's the authors, dude. It's there's this guy called Clark A. Murdoch. Talk
Hmm.
about someone that's hard to find information on. This dude has 9 books. 9 books. Has apparently sat in on C-SPAN. Uh, those meetings, and the father of this pony project that they love to tout, and you can't get hardly any information on this guy. Like, he seems like total CIA cat.
Is it was it Arthur Murdoch?
Clark A. Murdoch.
Clark A. Murdoch.
But my favorite, it's not even my favorite part yet. The other co-author, Michelle Flournoy. Flournoy. I'll go with Flournoy. I like that. She is interesting. She is really, really interesting. And I barely looked in. She just kept popping up everywhere. Anything to do with Blinken, she kept popping up. So she's at CSIS. Same times he's at CSIS. They're the ones that co-founded West Exec Advisors after, you know, Trump won and Blinken had to go into the private sector. She's also part of the Pine Island Capital Partners, which was also partnered with West Exec Advisors and also partnered with, you know, Lloyd Austin's part of that. And we'll get into that in a little bit, I guess. Almost. I'm almost done, I promise.
Oh, dude, I'm loving this.
But yeah, the last thing on CSIS is just funny. That's like 10-year-old data on Wikipedia, but even then, 10 years old, still telling you that the majority of funding came from 13 nation states and the usual defense contractors, you know, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, you know, Boeing, the usual suspects.
Yeah.
And then the four biggest donors were obviously the U.S. State Department, Japan, Taiwan, and the UAE.
Oh, shit.
But that's 10 years old, so who even knows now?
And they just stopped reporting on it?
Like I said, I barely scratched the surface on anything.
Dude, there's like 20 things right now that I want to go down a rabbit hole on.
Exactly. That's why I get so off topic from Blinken.
No, I mean, I mean too with everything, but I mean, like that's what we're doing here, though. That's like I'm trying to build this coalition of people that are just crazy like us, and you know, we could like all collectively go down these rabbit holes and just have this whole like information archive of all this crazy shit.
Yeah, and my grandma, you know, bless her heart, she says history's dumb, and she says it's stupid, and I'm like, how are you gonna avoid the dumb mistakes then? You know, how are we gonna avoid making these same dumb mistakes if we don't sort of just take a second and look back?
And think about like this, dude. Like, think about how much current events are manipulated. So you don't think history is manipulated? Like the version of events that we're told, you don't think that that's manipulated? If the version of events that are happening right in front of us are manipulated? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's never ending. You have to.
Anything we've ever heard, there's a completely different side to it if we look closely enough, and some of it's fucking shocking.
No, yeah, that's how I came around to Trump. It's like, geez, like you couldn't try any harder to be the opposite of what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
But I also forgot to mention that in this same 94 to 98, or this this Clinton administration, Samuel Pisar's daughter with his first wife also worked for Bill Clinton.
Come on.
So Anthony's stepsister was also working for Clinton.
Oh my God, such a small circle.
I know. So we know 0102, he's a senior fellow at the Center for Strategic International Studies, and it only says for like 1 year. So it's like they have like residents, non-residents, and they consider those people experts. And what that means, I have no idea. I could only assume it just means that they seek these people's advice out on before they move forward on certain things. Maybe I have no idea, but he gets married. Our boy gets married. He marries Evan Ryan, also a Clinton aide, worked for Hillary 94 to 01.
Wait, is it a dude? You said Evan Ryan?
I mean,
Is he gay?
What?
He married a dude?
It's a chick.
Oh, okay.
They got 2 kids, I think, actually, maybe.
Oh, gotcha.
I could be wrong. Let's see. And then let's see, just a couple little things about her. Well, for one, Blinken like brags that Hillary and Bill were like their wedding guests. So it sounded like a sad wedding. It was like a Jewish Catholic wedding. It sounded really awful. No, I'm a hater. Let's see. 03 to '08, she served on the board of a conflict management NGO called Peace Players International. And then in '04, served on the Kerry presidential campaign. '05, deputy chair for the governance track of the Clinton Global Initiative in New York. '08, deputy campaign manager for Biden for president. So it's like, yeah, she was, I don't know, 13 to 17, assistant secretary of state for educational and cultural affairs, assistant for intergovernmental affairs and public liaison for then Vice President Joe Biden. So she worked in the Obama administration as well as Blinken the same time he was. And then when they hit the private sector, he went and started West Exec Advisors. She went and helped launch Axios.
The news site?
Served as the executive vice president.
Wait, she started Axios, the news website?
Helped launch it.
Wow, so Axios is that new?
Apparently 2017. Apparently, well, I guess it could have been around and maybe she helped get it to an even bigger stage maybe, but and
That's
then
crazy.
She's White House cabinet secretary right now. And also current member of the Council on Foreign Relations.
Oh, wow.
Well, so's Blinken, but he didn't become a member until I guess I couldn't find an exact date, but it was somewhere once he hit the private sector, somewhere between 2017 and 2019. Blinken became a member of the Council on Foreign Relations.
And she was in before him?
You know, you can't get these. You go on the website and you can get the list of everybody who's on it, but it won't give you when they became a member. It just says they're a member on their website. Let's see. When they met, she was the deputy director of scheduling for First Lady Hillary Clinton. So that was her like actual job for Hillary, I guess.
She had to schedule.
Which, I mean, when you think about it, gotta know something, right?
Yeah.
Gotta know something.
Like her carpet munching appointments.
You know, off topic. Kamala was pretty banging early 2000s. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
I saw that clip from like 03 or something. I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Willie Brown gave her the world.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, I guess let's see. Oh. Well, I forgot to mention a little bit about the National Security Council before we left.
Hit me.
Before the Bush administration, since Blinken was on the National Security Council, it's been in the executive office of the president since 1949. Mainstream, it was apparently created to be Overwatch for the Central Intelligence Agencies or the intelligence agencies. It was meant to be like an Overwatch. Let's see what they actually do. You ever heard of the disposition matrix?
No.
It's just a fancy term for a kill list, or for a data list of people they watch and track and have might give kill authorizations to. That's what a disposition matrix is.
Wow.
And then they're also in charge of diplomatic appointments. And like, as far as I could tell, that was like, I mean, maybe there's a whole bunch of subtasks, but that seemed to be like their main purpose. But it's the way I see it, the executive branch definitely has seems to be over taking the checks and balances system, and like has been for a couple of decades, or at least I think that when I think of like Bush, but it seems like it's just immediately post World War II, we get so many moves are made.
Oh yeah.
Well, actually, pre World War II, I forgot to mention that Freedom House. Remember the Freedom House? It was started basically a month before we went into World War II.
What?
It's like October. Tomorrow will be the anniversary. It was October 31st
It's
of
on Halloween?
1941. Yeah, of 1941, and then guess what? December 7th, that was Pearl Harbor, right?
I have to look that up.
And then I think we entered in 1942.
Dude, that is insane.
Well, I mean, it is pretty wild timing if your whole goal is to spread democracy across the world. I don't know.
That's like the Federal Reserve starting like a year before World War I started, and then World War I would be impossible without the Federal Reserve.
I also don't think Hitler isn't possible without World War I either. And then like you said with Churchill, his what a butthole.
Yeah, and and why was Kuhn and Loeb money going to Hitler?
Yeah, it's
like that,
I don't know. I literally since we talked about that right before you mentioned it on the episode, which I just got to get it out there. I felt like I just meant like the topic when you brought up the topic, the response wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I kind of thought we like the crew on Unusual Suspects was going to run a different way with it, and then it kind of went a different direction. But
for the Churchill thing,
no, for the Bushes.
Oh yeah, that one kind of fizzled out. It didn't like land with them for some reason.
I felt like it fell flat, and I was really hoping for some pretty good perspectives on that because I'm still racking my brain over that.
Over the whole Nazi thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just did they see a winning side? Like that's I don't know.
Who are you talking about the Unusual crew or the
Bushes? No, just the Bushes. Like just why are they funding that? Is
it strictly because of money?
Yeah,
because of beliefs.
Yeah. All I can make sense of is an investment, but
or a belief system. But that like I said in the thing, that article came out like a month before the election, and then Bush still had an overwhelming victory and won the popular vote. So, what does that say about the voters?
Well, you give him. Well, yeah, you said it came out before. Yeah, so I guess. Yeah.
It just rolled off their shoulders. They're like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a different time.
Wow, could you imagine without Trump, do you think Jeb had a chance?
I think he could have been the nominee, but I don't think he would have beaten Hillary. Actually,
you're right. You're totally right.
Right?
Yeah. No, you're right. I didn't even think before I asked the question.
I don't think it would have been a blowout because they're both like equally useless. I mean, I think she's just a better speaker than Jeb.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Jeb is just like NyQuil.
There was how the Obamas are sort of just out there campaigning 10 times harder than Kamala herself.
Yeah.
And Obama was out there like a week ago talking about how Trump had like removed the plans they had in place for a pandemic, and I ended up finding what he was talking, the way he describes it to the crowd, is like, he makes it sound so good. Like they were already like prepping for, a better response, and Trump got rid of it. And that's why COVID was so awful, because Trump got rid of our plans. I found it though. It was called the Directorate of Global Health, Security, and Biodefense. Formed in 2016 under the Obama administration and disbanded in 2018 under Trump. Reinstated in 2021 under Biden. And I thought it was interesting because when I read that, it was the same day that Trump did the Rogan podcast, or the day after, and you made you you chose to take the clip of him talking about John Bolton. Well, John Bolton was essential into coming up with the Directorate of Global Health and Security and Biodefense.
Really?
Well, it's interesting because when you hear the way Obama passionately describes how they had it in place, and you see 16, so it's on his way out, so I just, yeah, I find it's very funny. I saw there's a YouTuber, he posted, when the most recent Olympics happened, and they had the insane opening ceremony.
Yeah.
You know how, like, even past the whole supper part, did you catch all the French Revolution imagery?
No, I saw the pale horse. That's like Bible stuff. I saw the what the hell else was there? No, what was from the French Revolution?
They showed like a famous French building, and then it was like they used a light show to show it like bathed in red, and like everyone in the windows was like a Mary Antoinette character holding their own head.
Oh wow!
And it was such weird, because we're trying to taking that whole ceremony as a whole. It was just very wacky. It's wacky and it was suspect. And some other YouTuber had posted, well, look back at the 2012 opening ceremony, and it's like, okay, and it's like it's a bunch of people running around in masks, pushing around hospital beds.
No,
I'm being dead ass, and like there's a whole bunch of symbolism that literally kind of spells out COVID.
Oh my
And
God!
and if we think that Trump was the wrench in the gears and stopped, the plan, like, you think about Agenda 21,
Right.
like from Rio, like the whole early 90s Pelosi really pushing Agenda 21. And so it's like, who's to say that he's the reason why now it's Agenda 30,
I think that.
Exactly. So it's, well, to a point, to a percentage point. So it's very interesting. I thought, that I hear Obama complaining, Trump did this, we had this in place, like, but he did this, like, it all would have been better, like in his way. And then it was like created by John Bolton, and then Trump had just randomly had talked about John Bolton. It's like it's the same thing with this Brzezinski part, and just Geithner, like it all connects.
Dude, I literally want to make a like I said, I want to make a string board, and I think we have to do a part 2 on this.
Yeah.
You down?
No doubt.
Are you down?
Yeah.
So we're at 2 hours now. How long do you want to go for?
Like continuing this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could. We're at
So I want to respect your time and everything.
8:30 was my bedtime, so we went like.
Oh shit!
No, well, you're fine. I got excited.
Well, we can release this as a part 1 and like pick up from here for like on Friday or Saturday or something if you want.
Well, all I got left is just West Exec Advisors and Pine Island Capital Partners.
Oh, cool.
And the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations.
All right, up to you. You want?
All right, yeah, that's really all that's left.
Yeah,
because it's just we know that Blinken worked in the Biden administration, or the Obama administration, so people can go and look back at what policies happened during that administration on foreign policy, and him and that Michelle Flournoy had a lot to do with all those policies.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Hit the. Let's see. It was, from 2002 to 2008, appointed staff director, Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and that one's interesting because one of the oldest Senate committees, created 1816, produced eight U.S. presidents: Andrew Jackson, Buchanan, Andrew Johnson, Harrison, Harding, Kennedy, Obama, and Biden.
The Foreign Relations Committee?
Yes.
Wow.
Buchanan and Biden were the only ones that served as chairman. Biden served as chairman 3 times.
That's weird. I heard about that the other day. That's very strange.
Yeah, and that one's interesting because anyone that's paid attention in the last couple of years probably doesn't know anything about the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations except for the one person we've heard about that was the recent chairman, Bob Menendez, that had gold bars. Straight
Yeah, what
gold
the hell?
bars. Yeah, so
That's a
who's
great
to
freaking
say that a
point.
chairman isn't corruptible? And you're
Jeez.
talking about one of the oldest institutions in charge of. They're one of the most powerful and prestigious in the Senate. U.S. foreign policy, jurisdiction over all diplomatic nominations, and being the only Senate committee to deliberate and report treaties. So Alaska Purchase, Marshall Plan, establishment of the UN. That's all because of the Senate Committee of Foreign Relations.
Wow.
So I just thought that was neat. It's Blinken and Biden definitely are like this.
Yeah.
Like that, actually. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I think you see a lot of overlap with the two of them.
Absolutely. Even his wife, his wife was working for Biden as well.
Right, when he was VP, that's weird.
Yeah. So then, let's see, worked on the Biden campaign in 2008 when he tried going for president, and then deputy assistant to Obama and the national security advisor to Biden from 2009 to 2013.
The vice president gets a national security advisor?
Yeah, I thought I'm glad you caught that. So he's the deputy assistant to Obama and then the national security advisor to Biden for 4 years. And then I thought this was funny. He was sworn in, so that's a process in 2013 as the deputy national security advisor, which he's only like one of. I don't want to mess this up. He's one of very few people who've held that position and actually became the security, the Secretary of State.
Kissinger held them both at the same time, I believe.
Who?
Kissinger, I think, was the National Security Advisor and Secretary of State at the same time.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all. And then it's like literally barely a year later, he becomes. Oh, I'm sorry, Deputy Secretary of State. That was the one.
Okay.
Where, for some odd reason, only like 2 or 3 people that have ever held that actually ended up becoming Secretary of State.
Oh, interesting.
You would think that like someone who was just like the next tier down.
Yeah.
So that was from 14 to 17. And then so he hits the private sector. Trump comes in, hits the private sector. Co-founded West Exec Advisors, the Penn Biden Center, and then partnered with Pine Island Capital Partners. And so I just want to talk about those 3, and then that's basically it. Let's see, West Exec Advisors. On their website, their motto is "brings the situation room to the boardroom." That's pretty dorky.
Yeah.
Let's see, and the firm is named after West Executive Avenue, which is literally the street between. It's right next to the White House. On a map, like on a Skyview map, it's literally you got the White House, you got a road called West Executive Avenue, which is not available to the public, so you can't. It's not a road you could even drive on. And then you got his building on the other side.
That's insane.
So probably connected by tunnels. Let's see. Consulting firm. Found Blinken, Flournoy, couple other former Obama administrators, a couple other notable workers: Avril Haines, David Cohen, Jen Psaki. Let's see. Right now, at least eight former West Exec colleagues now serve in executive branch roles. Let's see. Although West Exec does not disclose its list of clients, some have been reported. Clients include Google's, there it is, Google's Jigsaw, Windward, which is an Israeli AI firm, Shield AI, drone surveillance company, and other Fortune 100 types. Other interesting ones, So under a financial disclosure followed by Biden transition team, let's see, they had to disclose some stuff. Oh man, whole bunch of banks: Facebook, Uber, Gilead, Boeing, AT&T, Royal Bank of Canada, LinkedIn.
Oh shit.
Let's see.
So what was the service there?
Palantir.
Oh wow.
Yeah. What's up?
What were they actually doing? Like what was the service they were providing?
It is openly compared to Kissinger Associates.
I was gonna say it sounds like a lazier version of that, which already sounded kind of lazy.
Well, it looks like a bunch of Silicon Valley. It just looks like a middleman between Silicon Valley and the Defense Department. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like access to people in government, like that's kind of what they were selling.
Exactly. I feel like Kissinger Associates was. It's hard for me to. I feel like it's more like Kissinger Associates were actually probably helping those companies, actually,
like interact with the rest of the world.
Exactly. Where I feel like thank you. Where I feel like West Exec Advisors is more about like what can your company do for the government, and the government would just pay you a lot.
Yeah.
That's probably the major difference. Is they're like, hey, we like what you got, we want that, and we'll give you more. We'll give you all the taxpayer dollars.
Just much more blatant about their corruption.
Yeah. Wow. I just thought it was funny. At least 8 former West Exec colleagues now serve in executive branch roles. So,
yeah, it's crazy. So Psaki was there before she was Biden's chief, or what the hell is it, press secretary?
Yeah. So yeah, and then they were partnered with Pine Island Capital Partners, which you think West Exec Advisors is shameless? Pine Island Capital Partners is who's shameless.
Come on.
Lloyd Austin, Michelle Flournoy. I want to touch on.
I'm doing Michelle. A podcast in here. Give me like 15 minutes. Sorry, the cleaner came in.
Oh, you're good, dude. I'm almost got you. I got you.
Keep going. So Pine did what?
Lloyd
Austin and
who? They partner with West Exec Advisors, and Lloyd Austin's part of it. Michelle Flournoy is part of it. Let's see. It's an investment management firm based in Washington, D.C. that primarily invests in the aerospace and defense industries. The firm advertises its partners' backgrounds as deeply connected former high-level government and military officials. John Thane is the co-founder and chairman and served on the boards of the National Urban League, a left-of-center activist group, and the Trilateral Commission.
Whoa. Ding, ding, ding.
That's the current chairman of Pine Island Capital Partners. And I just want to go back to this Michelle Flournoy for a second.
Yeah.
Apparently, she was rumored to be Hillary Clinton's likely defense secretary when she was running. And then during the 2020 presidential transition of Joe Biden, she apparently was viewed as the top of Biden's list to be Secretary of Defense, but then obviously lost out to Lloyd. She is a member of the Aspen Strategy Group.
Oh, wow.
And the Council on Foreign Relations.
Holy shit, she's a heavy hitter.
Bro, she kept popping up all over the place, dude. Also co-founded the Center for a New American Security, which is another think tank. So like, yeah, like she's doing 3 think tanks at the same time. Is there like,
who the hell is her family? That's what I want to know.
I know. Flournoy. I got to get that down first before I can even dive in further. But
look at her Wikipedia. Like the first thing on her career is served in the Clinton administration for the U.S. Department of Defense. Why is that the first job that she had?
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly my point with Blinken, where it's like this dude practiced law from 88 to 94, except I don't know who you practiced law for or what kind of law you practiced, but then out of nowhere you're working for Bill Clinton. Like someone
That
just
makes sense.
I know it's I like I said, I guess I didn't look all that hard for the years from 88 to 94, but it's
Well, you piqued my interest, and I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole. And so her father was a cinematographer, worked on shows like I Love Lucy and The Odd Couple. That's weird. She, international relations, Oxford, Harvard, the usual suspects. Jeez. All right. Wow. All right. You piqued my interest on Flournoy.
yeah, she's a player. It's funny because a lot of the females go uh, um, they fly under the radar a lot easier.
Yeah. We underestimate them.
And then let's see, back to the Penn Biden Center. Not that fancy. It's just something else that Blinken started. You know, it's obviously named after Biden, literally. A think tank founded on the principle that a democratic, open, secure, tolerant, and interconnected world benefits all Americans. That's their mission statement. And it's really only interesting because it's one of the two locations where the classified documents were found. And it's in Biden's actual office in the Penn Biden Center, which is in DC, but it's part of the University of Pennsylvania. So it's just funny how that works out. And it's like you always hear it was in Biden's garage. Well, one of the two locations was also his office in the Penn Biden Center.
That's weird. Because that naturally begs the question, like, what kind of activities went on there if classified documents were just sitting there? Like, why is that a storage house for? Is it a museum? Is it like a one of these things where people go to in exchange money for whatever information they want?
Well, yeah, it's like you're in the White House, you're in the real White House, you're in the real boardrooms where there's probably recording devices, so you're probably beating around the bush and dancing around topics and giving the not so direct plan of attack, and then it's like they go to another office where this was just set up a couple of years ago, it's probably not bugged. Even though they would probably know what is and what isn't, but that's a very cartoonish way to look at it. But yeah, I can't figure out why classified documents get thrown around like sticky notes. It's like General Lee's plans that he left in his like cigar box that were found just randomly.
That's hilarious. Wow, dude, that's freaking crazy. I'm like overwhelmed with rabbit holes right now.
I know it keeps going. It's crazy because I forget who it was. One of the recent podcasts I heard was claiming, someone said the Clintons were like new guys on the town. Maybe it was Judge Joe Brown. Was claiming that the Clintons were kind of like new in town, and they weren't like sort of run. They're just the new kids on the block, and it's like. This is where working for the government started, was with the Bushes. I mean, the Clintons. God, I can't get it right. With the Clintons. So, I'm left with more questions than answers in the end.
Well, you know what? I just thought of something. I think that a cool thing to do would be once I post this, like I'll make a separate note saying, hey guys, as you'll see in this thing, we like stumble upon like 20 crazy things that were like just hitting the tip of the iceberg for. And one of the reasons that I started this thing is for us to collectively dig into this stuff. So, like get other people to like look into these things too.
Yeah, no, when I started, my only thing was just sort of finding like nuggets, sort of like, gold veins, to find the veins, but the mining hasn't really started yet,
Yeah.
I also totally forgot to mention, that Dalton school he went to.
Mm-hmm.
The New York sort of, I guess, New York prep school or whatever that he was going to before his parents divorced.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just remember me mentioning that was the same school that hired Epstein.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, that's just thanks to random internet sleuths, but yeah, apparently this was, Epstein had a teaching job, right? So everybody
Mm-hmm.
knows Epstein held a teaching job for a couple
Right.
years. Right. From 74 to 76, it was at this Dalton school. Well, not but 3 years later, that his tenure's over, it's actually featured in a Woody Allen film called Manhattan. And I don't really know the film, but I definitely know Woody Allen's a pedo. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's a funny little connection there, and that the school it's presented as the Dalton School in the movie. So it's like the main character is like cheating with a 17-year-old girl that
What
goes to
the?
the school. It's like uh, I don't
That's
know. It's
insane.
definitely it's an interesting for sure. And supposedly Bill Barr's father was the headmaster at the time. I guess that Epstein was hired.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say who else was at that place? You said Bill Barr, and there were a few other weirdos there too, right?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you.
Bill Barr and Epstein is pretty weird. A pretty weird start.
Yeah, his father was the headmaster.
Yeah.
Um,
Jesus.
let's see. Yeah, I mean, and then I like to just, for fun, sort of wonder, why did his parents divorce? Like what's up with that? And his mom marries a Holocaust survivor, and his dad went and married a Holocaust survivor as well.
Right.
But I couldn't help, you're going through the Wikipedias, you click on this, click on that, and I couldn't help but look. Anthony's uncle Alan. There's a little bit more of a resemblance there.
Oh wow.
And before I found out that Donald was really into music and arts, when I saw that Alan had the arts degree from Harvard, but Donald had the economics degree, I kind of thought, oh, maybe Anthony got the he plays in a band, he's into the arts,
Yeah.
but that's just conjecture.
Speculative.
It's just for fun,
Yeah.
But
Jeez.
yeah, but that Samuel Pizarro guy, we need. I think I remember. The Unusual Suspects had a guest on one time who seems to be like the best researcher of all time.
Oh, Ian Carroll.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my
Yeah, he's a
gosh.
beast.
Yeah. Oh my god. And I think I saw him on someone else's podcast, and uh, he Samuel Pizarro came up in a fleeting second, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that guy. Oh wow, that guy." And I'm like, "Oh man, like who knows, And you look at, yeah, there's a lot of weird connections there. Even in his own autobiography, he, after surviving the Holocaust in his own way, living in the American zone, occupation zone, was a black marketeer. So he was basically like, buying cigarettes cheap and selling them. Basically just the local drug dealer.
Right.
He's just a street hoodlum.
Right.
And apparently he got so good at it that he owned a BMW motorcycle in the American occupation zone as like a kid, driving around on this motorcycle. And apparently his aunt comes and like, whips him into shape. And he says that had it not been for her, he thinks he would have been like the top gangster or terrorist. Like he like that self-proclaimed dude thinks he could have been a top gangster slash terrorist. And in my opinion, after reading like Elie Wiesel's Night, or some other books when I was younger, when your entire family gets killed and you happen to not, it's just like to turn around and to be a net negative on your community like that, and to be like damn near proud, almost like to be almost prideful of it. it makes me think of George Soros, and like his sort of upbringing, and it's just like that's a character flaw.
Yeah,
That's like a total character flaw in my opinion. Like,
just turned pure evil.
yeah, but I mean, the dude was interesting. 1950 to 60, worked for the UN, and then as soon as Kennedy comes into power, he's on the Economic and Foreign Policy Task Force / advisor to the State Department and the Senate and House committees, which probably includes the Senate, Foreign Relations Committee, most likely.
That's
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh yeah, he was a trustee for the Brookings Institute. I forgot about that.
Oh,
Isn't that's on the committee of 300
yeah,
document?
it sure is.
The Brookings Institute.
Yeah, that's a heavy hitter of an NGO.
Yeah. So yeah, I get super lost when it comes to the Warburg family, when it comes to these advising groups. I mean, there's so much money getting flipped around with these, and then you had the CIA guy. CIA asset. I probably wouldn't call him a CIA guy, but he was paid by the CIA, and it's known. But you got the Chatham House. But even with all that, something about it must have been a party in the Clinton administration, because like homie was there, homie's dad was there, homie's uncle was there, homie's stepsister was there, homie met his wife there. How many of them had to go through Bill first? I don't know, but
those were the glory days for them. Jeez,
for sure, very interesting stuff.
Dude, it's been fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for allowing me to share the load.
The dark secrets of the world with the world. Well, yeah, this is an awesome first episode. Like I said, I'd like to do this somewhat regularly, and I've been digging on Mayorkas too. So I mean, hopefully he'll be totally irrelevant by next week. But this rabbit hole is still super relevant because this type of story exists behind most people in government, and they don't do a whole lot of talking about that. So I think it's sick what we're doing, what we've stumbled onto. So we'll make a string board of like the top things that we talked about tonight. I'm going to post this probably tomorrow or the next day, and ask the commenters. Like I'll make an intro or whatever saying, "All right, guys, we talked about
like open source,
Yeah,
totally a total open source, like just
like so. Like I said, I want like just to be a intelligence center where we're all doing shit like this because then we basically have our own intelligence apparatus.
Yeah, that'd be what's up.
Yeah. Well, sorry for keeping you past your bedtime though, dude. I didn't know you were
no, you're fine. You're fine. I can't wait to finally do this.
Yeah, I'm glad we did. This was I had high expectations, but this blew past my expectations. So good shit.
Yeah. We'll pick it up on part 2.
Yeah. All right. So what should I even call it? Like I know the Blinken was the overarching theme, but like, what do you think the title should be?
Oh man.
And thumbnail, because I'll have the graphics guys make a sick thumbnail for it.
Yeah, I love coming up with titles. Let's see. You're right. We didn't. It was pretty Blinken central.
Let's see.
Oh, this is tough.
All right. Well, sleep on it and just text me in the morning or something.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate it, brother.